Not only are we at Retail Mavens geeks and nerds about numbers, we're also complete nerds about consumer psychology. Welcome to episode 007 of the Richer Retailer podcast. I'm thrilled you're here because I am going to today share with you the number one step to take to increase your profit. It's also the easiest step. It's also simple. It's also the one that has the deepest impact that nobody talks about. I mean it. No one talks about this KPI. Many people don't measure it. Most retailers we talk to don't even know what this number is for them. It is your IMU, your initial markup. That's what it is. It is a critical KPI, key performance indicator, that every successful store owner must know. I'm going to go through telling you how you can determine it and why it's so important. First, I'm going to tell you why it's so important. Then you'll see why you want to determine it for yourself. And then I'm going to tell you the steps to take to increase it or to fix it. And then I'm going to answer your questions because I speak on so many stages all over and I talk about this a lot and get asked the same questions. And so I can read your mind. I know what you're thinking about it. And so I want to answer all of your questions. So let's dig in. Your initial markup, the reason why measuring it is crucial is because it creates a cushion for markdowns. It creates additional revenue, frankly, right from the get-go. It also helps you determine what your vendor profitability is. This is why it's so important. It's important to measure it because we all know that if we don't measure it, we can't improve it, right? That's the other critical thing about it. Actually, let me tell you one more reason why you're going to want to know about what this is that if we take store number one, my best shop, let's say, and they spend $100,000 on inventory, and if they take a 50% IMU, meaning they just double it, that means that $100,000 worth of inventory has a value, retail value of $200,000 worth of inventory. Now, if the better shop spends $100,000 on inventory, but if they take a 60% initial markup, which is a 2.5 multiplier times the inventory, that's 60% initial markup, that same $100,000 is worth $250,000. So let me say this one more time. A 50% IMU, a 2 times multiplier is $100,000 of inventory is $200,000. The better shop takes that $100,000, takes a 60% IMU, which is a 2.5 multiplier, and gets $250,000 out of that same inventory. $50,000 more. I thought I'd have your interest with that. Who couldn't use some of that in your pocket, right? All right, so now let's talk about exactly what it is, because I really want you to picture it in your head. So imagine you're holding a measuring cup in your hand and you fill it with oil. Let's say the oil is the cost of the product. It's how much you're paying the vendor for it. So if we have our measuring cup and if you're filling it halfway with the oil, so half of a cup of oil, that's the cost. And then the other half of the cup is water, because water and oil don't mix, right? So the water will stay on the top, and the water then is the other half. And so then that's a beautiful illustration. So if you can imagine that measuring cup in front of you, it's half oil, half cost, and then it's half initial markup. So it's the cost plus the initial markup. Those two pieces together give you what the total price is, the retail price is of an item, right? So if you're doing, at this point, if it's half and half, then if the cost is $10, then the initial markup is $10. The retail price of that item is $20, okay? Now, if you're going to go with the 60% initial markup that our better store had to gain that $50,000 extra of possible everything, possible revenue, possible cushion for markdowns, possible profit, imagine you're holding that same measuring cup. You're only filling it 40% full. So you're grabbing the cup, the measuring cup, and you're taking the oil and you're filling it up to just over 3 ounces. A cup is 8 ounces. Half a cup is 4 ounces. So it's just a little bit under that. 3.2 ounces is the oil. So then 3.2 ounces is the oil. So then you're going to pour in water to fill it all the way up to the top. And the remaining 4.8 ounces then is filled with water, which is your IMU. So that means that the cost is 40% and the IMU is 60%. So that same $10 item down here, that's what the cost is representing now. IMU then is $15. It's 60%. So do you see that the difference in the water goes from $10 if you're just doing a times 2 markup? If you're doing a 60% markup, a 2.5 multiplier, then that IMU is $15. You're literally going from $10 of IMU to $15 of IMU. That's increasing it by $5. Who doesn't want that extra $5, right? It's so thrilling to think about what's possible with it. So now let's find out where you're at, okay? This is how you do the math of the initial markup, is that you look at the cost, the $10. And so if you want $10, the cost to just be 40% of the total, if you want a 60% IMU, that means you want a 40% cost, right? So you take that cost and you divide it by the percentage you want that cost to be, which is 0.4 in this case, and that gives you what the price is. So let's use a $25 as a price. If I want to take $25 and mark it up to 60%, what I want the cost to be, I want $25 to be the cost. So I divide it by the cost percentage, which would be 0.4, and that gives me $62.50. All right. The other super simple way is you can also multiply it times 2.5. Just so you know. But I wanted to explain to you how to get there because I think it helps for some of you. It cements in your mind. What I've learned about teaching this is that I have to present the same ideas in a couple of different ways because some will stick perfectly with some people and others will resonate completely with another person, right? So you've done that. So you have a $25 item. You want a 60% markup. You're taking that $25 item. You're dividing it by what you want the percentage of the cost to be. So 0.4, you come up with $62.50. Okay, but wait, I don't want you to run out and price it at $62.50 because that's an awkward number. You see, not only are we at Retail Mavens geeks and nerds about numbers, we're also complete nerds about consumer psychology. Everything and anything that can make your life easier, that can bring you more profit, that can bring you better sleep, right? And I know that pricing for profit is critical, which is why I'm teaching you about IMU, because there's an additional step to it, because I'm taking that $25, but if I mark it up to 60%, that gives me $62.50. But $62.50 is a weird number. So we have this fabulous document that I want you to go to the show notes and download called Pricing for Profit. I've studied what numbers people respond to. And what I know for sure, for example, is that if there is a 1, there's all these tips and tricks about the way to use numbers to maximize your profits and making sure that your customers don't feel like they're getting ripped off. For example, anytime there's a 1 in the price, meaning like $11 or $21 or $31 or $41, if you price it at that, the customer thinks they're getting ripped off. They think that's overpriced because if it's 41, they think it should be $40. Like that doesn't make any sense to them. So that's one example. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about how you do things. On the other hand, if something is a $9, like 49, 39, some people think that makes it look like it's less money, and that is very true. And that brings up the whole pricing point of how, in general, using 2 zeros as the price, making it being an even number. So instead of $39, it's just $40. That gives a sense of exclusiveness, of specialness, of I'm not a discounter kind of thing. So what I have learned is that people feel super strongly about this. And that particular thing, whether something should end in a 9 or something should have zeros on the end of it, is up to you. It's not a hill that I choose to die on. I can tell you that what works very well for me and works very well for our clients and is in my stories that we made things like $40 for example. And then when we marked numbers down, we made it so that the sale price ended in 0.99. So then we knew if something had been bought on sale or not without any question if we had the receipt. So that was kind of an easy way of doing it. But the thing I want you to focus on is that if something is $9, it can easily go up to $10. I go through all of this in this pricing for profit doc, where the first column is what the original prices are, and it gives ranges and suggestions. And then I have what your profit pricing number should be. And then I have what the notes are explaining to you why it's that way. And to give this example of the $62, what I find $62.50 is that if a person is going to pay $62.50, they'll also pay $65. You might as well mark it up a bit more to $65. All right. So now let's measure your IMU, because I want to find out what your IMU is, right? So you go to your point of sale, you pull out what your inventory is at retail and what your inventory is at cost. And you take your retail minus the cost and you divide it by the retail number. So whatever your inventory at retail is, and you're subtracting what your inventory at cost is and dividing it by your inventory at retail, multiplying it times 100, and that tells you what your IMU is. To use the example I talked about in the very beginning, where if it's $250,000 of retail and $100,000 of cost, you do 250,000 minus 100,000, which gives you 150, and then you divide it by the retail. So 150 divided by 250 gives you 60%. I want you to go check to see what yours is, because the closer you can get it to 60%, the better it is. An initial markup increase of just a few percentage points means increased revenue with every single transaction. It is so powerful. I can read your mind. I can see the quizzical look on your face. You have a question. Is it that you're worried about the fact that some of your items come pre-priced? So for example, books are pre-priced and I can't deviate from that price. Or maybe there's a vendor that you have to price it at their MSRP, right? Of map pricing. And so, yes, of course. Yeah, we understand that happens. And what I want you to realize is that every store, I've been doing this for decades, every single store has situations like that, where there's items or vendors that they can't mark up more. And so don't. Remember that what we're looking at here is the average of all of your numbers. So it's fine if you have some things that you can't mark up more. What are things that you can mark up more? One little hint for you is that it's usually things marked $10 or under. Those are things that are pretty easy to mark up 2.5 times or even 3 times to a 66% markup. Oh, I see your question too. You're really worried about the fact that your customers will think you're taking advantage of them, or your team will think you're taking advantage of them because you don't want to be higher than your competition. I get that. I completely understand. And I completely felt the same way too with my store. And when my coach told me to do that, I was so nervous about it. But I'll tell you what I found is that it doesn't matter. Did a few people come in and point out and say that this glass that I have here was more expensive down the street? They have it for $5 less or whatever. This is what I say to them. Oh gosh, well, I want you to know that we work hard to price fairly so that our team can be paid fairly and that we can provide excellent service to you. And just leave it at that with a big smile on your face. The reason why you're not going to worry about those 1 or 2 people that will say it to you is that you have to be crystal clear on who your ideal customer is. If you think about the 10 people that come to your website or walk through your front door, out of those 10 customers, hold your hands up in front of you right now. Come on. Okay, well, don't do it if you're driving, but you can imagine. Hold on to your steering wheel at least. So you have your hands open, 10 fingers up and going, right? Put down your fingers and leave your thumbs up. Those thumbs, those 2 out of 10, that 20% of your customers are responsible for 80% of your business. They do not care if you're $5 more than what a competitor charges. They don't care about that because they care about you. They want you to pay your people well. They want you to be able to not just survive, they want you to be able to thrive. For sure, that matters a lot to them. That's who you're pricing for. That's who you're staying in business for, is those 20, your thumbs, the 20% of your customers that are 80% of your business. Now, if you open your hands back up again and you put your thumbs in, you see these other 8 fingers. These other 8 fingers represent the 8 customers out of 10 that are not your ideal customers. I mean, we love them. It's not that. But these are the people that you hear from. These are the people that say, oh my gosh, I can get this so much cheaper on Amazon, or I could make it myself, or whatever. And you just smile at them and think to yourself, they're my fingers, and I really am looking for my thumbs. You're, of course, going to serve them. I encourage you to take good care of your fingers. You can do that by asking them if they want to be called the next time you have a sale. Would you like to know when that is marked down? We go through our merchandise pretty quickly. We're always bringing in new things for you. And so I can let you know if that's marked down. I'd be happy to give you a call. I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, they'll say, yes, please do. Those sale customers, our pinkies, we really care about them because they help us get rid of things that aren't moving. That's a fabulous thing to do. Stores don't do that. That's providing excellent service to your fingers, right? That's an excellent service for them to give them when the price gets lower. But know that you can't stay in business if you're not making a profit. You can't do it. So the best service that you can provide is thriving in your retail store. I want you to be richer in every way. That's why we call this the richer retailer. And one of the things, for example, is that you can't be the only person working the floor. You have to be charging enough for your merchandise so that you can afford to bring someone in. And you can't do that at just a 50% initial markup. You can't do it. There's too many other expenses now. You have to be able to aim for 60%. So it's not gouging your customers. It is literally providing the best service for them so that you can stay in business. Listen, over the years, I have helped so many retailers find their life after retail, help them sell or close their store or whatever. And what I tell every single person is that you will be shocked at the people that walk through the front door of your store and say, they are so sorry you're closing. You are my favorite store. And you don't even recognize the person. You impact so many people that you don't even know. You don't even know the ripples that your customer service offers, the ripples, the impact of all the love that you shower on your customers. So that's why you owe it to them to stay in business. So truly, it's the best customer service because you're going to be there for them and you're not going to get burnt out. You're going to be able to afford to be richer in every way. So the other question that people always ask too is, well, what if my customer goes online? Again, we don't care. Those are their fingers. Good for them. Good for them. Don't even worry. Is it maddening? Oh, yes. Just remember, they're not a thumb. So that's why you want to smile and not pay any attention. Okay. Are you wondering if your sales are down because your prices are too high? That's not ever true. 100% of the time in the decades that I've been doing retail coaching, as well as when I had my own store, when prices are raised, sales do not go down. That does not happen. It is a very convenient thing because we're all human and you hear people talking about how they think your prices are too high, but it's fine. They can go shop online. Who cares? Like, I don't care. That's fine. Again, they're fingers, right? All right. Another question that I get is, where can I find goods that I can mark up 2.5 times? Margin goods is what we call them. I can't find any wholesale vendors with good prices. And I'll tell you that all you have to do is ask. It is for sure the secret to getting more margin goods, more items that you can mark up 3 times even. You can call a vendor and you don't want to say, hey, do you have any merchandise on sale? And like feel creepy while you're asking that question because how horrible. Oh, no. The mindset you have to have, the fact is that every vendor has merchandise that they have to get rid of. And you have access to your entire customer base. So you're providing them an outlet of how to get rid of that old merchandise. They don't have a way of doing it easily, but you do. So really, you're partnering with them. You're helping them. But you don't just call them and say, hey, do you have any excess inventory at stuff on sale? You don't want to say that, because what I have found to be the best thing is to come up with a budget. Like our clients have a budget for how much they should spend on margin goods. And you can call up a vendor and say, hey, so this is Cathy from The Best Shop, and I have $1,000 to spend on merchandise that you want to get rid of that's 50% off. Do you have anything? That's all you have to say, or send an email, whatever. And then just keep asking. What happened with me and what we see happens with clients is that it gets to the point then when vendors are actually reaching out to you to help them get rid of stuff. It's incredible. It's really amazing. And it's such a service to you, to your bottom line, and to your customers. If a customer says to you, oh my gosh, I can't afford the prices you have now, then right away, take them, say, they're remembering that they're one of the fingers. Maybe they're a pinky, maybe they're a sale customer. So, oh my gosh, I understand. Hey, would you want me to give you a call next time we have a sale? Then you have a list of people that you can call or text or email, whichever works best for you. That's how you can do it. Yes. There's so much possibility here. There is so much room for you to grow and create more margin. So you know how we always talk about milli moments in this, right? That's what we call all of our clients that get to over $1 million. Our milli moment, our millionaire mindset moment is our client Cadence, who, when it's been a slow day in the store, she'll walk around the store and pick up items and pull that pricing for profit chart and see what she can mark up a little more. She said, at least then I know I'm making money. Even if there's no sales, I at least know I'm making money that way. And that's the mindset you have to have. That is what will make a difference for you. One other millionaire mindset milli moment I have to share with you is the client, Meredith was her name. She had a store that I kept telling her and talking to her about increasing her initial markup because she was way too close to 50%. And so she finally inched it up to just 54%. That was then the average for the whole store, 54%. She was able to take her family on their first vacation in 5 years. It was thrilling. She literally took them on a cruise. It was so exciting. And it was all because of that initial markup increase. We were able to see how it generated that much extra profit for her team, that much extra profit for her and for her bottom lines. So exciting, thrilling. So I want that for you. Listen, I want to know what other questions you have, how this has impacted you. Are you going to do it? Go to RETAILMavens FB, RETAILMavens, M-A-V as in Victor, A-N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, FB for Facebook.com. And that'll take you right to our Facebook group. And I want you to tell us there what you're doing and ask more questions if you've got them. We're in there all the time. We will absolutely support you. And please share this with every single store owner you know, because every single one of them deserves, just like you do, to be a richer retailer. And this is the number one step to get there. Know that you are astonishingly fabulous and that you are loved. Happy retailing.